Okay, great, right? So what we want to do is, okay, so let me also open a board. Just a second more. Okay, so this class would be day 26 of our Playwright, and what we have to discuss is we are currently in the phase of creating the framework using Playwright, TypeScript as a language, and as part of the framework design, we have already created our layer, which is page object model layer, right? We have already created this. We already have our test spec. Okay, we already have our test spec, which has been written for end to end. Now, what we want to do is we wanted to add some layers to it. For adding those layers, what we primarily want is we want our data layer to be there. So let's say if form file, right? Using form file, you want to let's say fill some credentials on the screen, right? So that input has to come from somewhere, right? Currently, those are hard coded here. Okay, those are currently hard coded here. So what we need is we it's like you should have an access to the input layer. Okay, input layer, input data layer, which acts like your database, right? So I mean, for us, right, it is would be a JSON file. Now, what we'll do is we'll keep all our test data in a JSON file. Okay, so let me start writing. So what we need is we need a test data folder. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll create let's say test data per spec file. Okay, per spec file. So spec file wise. So let's say a spec file has 10 test cases. So what we'll do is we'll create a spec file JSON, right? Let's say spec one JSON, and within it we will have per test case all the data. The whatever we are going to do today, right? We have already done a similar activity in WebDriver.io, so there would be no difference. Okay, and people who have already gone through those chapters, it could be like a revision, right? So this is exactly the same thing. Okay, you would not find even a single difference over there in our discussion if you compare it to WebDriver.io. And again, that is for the reason because we would be using as we are using TypeScript, right, to run things. So that is how the point is, right? So okay, so this is our JSON which acts like a so we need this thing, right? First of all, second thing which we need is like, if you know, right, as we have discussed earlier in our JavaScript chapters, if you keep data in JSON, right, JavaScript has a concept where you can convert your you can convert your JSON, right, into a JavaScript object very easily. Okay, JavaScript object very easily. Now to do this, right, what you need to do is you need to read the file, right? So this is sitting in a file, right? It is sitting in a file. You have the data. What you need to do is you need to write a utility to read the file, right? So I'll call it like a file util. Okay. So we'll create a utility which will read the content of the file. So for doing this, we will use three libraries. Okay. One would be a file system fs. Second would be we would need to form the path of the directory. So we'll use path, and there is something called process, right, to get the current working directory. Okay, so again, so these are the three which we'll be making use of, and using this, right, we'll create a utility, and will in that utility we'll give a file name to that method, and it will read that file and convert read the content of the JSON file and convert it into a JS object, and then give it to us. Okay, the third thing which we want to have here is, right, so to do this, right, we need a utility. So let's create a utility. So this will get passed through a utility. Okay, a utility which will do what, which will go and read the content of it, right, read the content, and this will provide back, like, it will read the content and then it will have your JS object. Okay, now what we need after this, right, what we need to have is we wanted to have a data layer, right, a data layer. Now what can happen is, like, see, when you create JSON input, right? When you create a JSON file, you, I mean, you would not, you would want people, you would like to control, right? Like what people can fill, right? Or what all attributes people can add into a JSON file. It should not be that you wanted to create, you wanted to grab the input for login, and you expect people to provide username and password, but people start providing, let's say product name here itself, right? You want to control this, right? You want to control this. Now this control, right, which you wanted to get on the data layer side, right? You can only achieve if you place two things together. One is your DAO layer, which will be like DAO layer is what, right? These are like classes which have the concepts of getters and setters. That's it, right? And they would be meaning for a particular page. Okay, we'll see all of this, right? I'm just trying to list down what we want to learn, what we want to do today. Test data, a utility we need to convert JSON to JS object. Then we need this data layer and DAO layer. This data layer, right? This DAO layer will be created through classes, right? We'll create class per page, okay, wherever the input is needed. So for that input, a class would be formed, and all the parameters for which we need to grab the data would be placed there. What is data layer? I want to restrict people, right, to not add something which is not meant for that particular page, right? So that check, right, will be placed through this data layer through the interface concept. Okay, so we'll see this also. So we'll add all this, and in the last, right, we also wanted to have a verification layer so that we can make a comparison between the inputs and the outputs and make a decision out of it, right? So we'll do all of this today, right? So if you see, right, we are adding a utility layer. We were going to add a test data layer, DAO layer, and verification layer. So let's start with the most basic thing, which is your test data. So we'll go to our test case, Playwright, and here let's create a folder first. I've created a, oh, I did not create a branch. Okay, just a second. Array, what it is doing? Git checkout -b day 25. Okay, so day 25 or day 26? I think it is day 25, right? Okay, my bad. It's day 25 today, I believe. Okay, so this day 25 uh, here, right? So let's close this. So we'll come here and create a new folder, and we'll create say test data. Okay, test data. Now inside the test data, we'll create a file, a JSON file. So we have one spec, right, with us, which is end-to-end spec. So what I'll do is I'll create a file with the same thing so that we can sync up accordingly. A new file, end-to-end.json. Okay, let's say this. Now inside the JSON file, how do you write a JSON file? What you do is you open these things, right, like this, and you have the key value pair kind of a combination, and both the things are string, right? So what I'll do is, first of all, let's say that this is test case one, right? And within this test case, I will have, let's say, see, if you see, right, your test case right now onto the side, your test case looks like this, right? It needs a lot of inputs. This is your test case. Let's say login, right? I will call it as test case one, let's say now. Okay, test case one. So test case one, and if you see, right, I need a lot of inputs. I need inputs on the login screen. I need input even on the product link, right? So we'll do this part. We need input on the details page. We need inputs on the address page, right? This one. So at least 4 pages. So we can see, right, that we need all this input, right? So what we'll do is, for this test case, right, these are 4 different pages, right? What we'll do is I'll create 4 different sections so that we are able to segregate them out. Again, similar thing which we did in WebDriver.io. We'll do is we'll say login, and here in login, what do we need? We need two things, right? We need username and password. These two things, right? Let me grab this. Let's just close this. Let's bring it down so that we can save some space. Grab it and put it here. So the first thing is the username, and we'll put it in double quotes, and this value, right? Second value is going to be the password, which is your password here. Correct. So we got from the login screen. Okay, great. Now the next thing which we need is we need what is the next page? Let's say home, right? Home page. So we'll create a for the home page also. On the home page, what do we need? We need the product name, right? Inside this, we did not, we have not done that. We should have done this here also, right? The product name, right? Nike React Infinity Run, right? Something like this. So we should have, again, this is, we have not done this correctly. We should not have hard coded this. It should be keep coming from the user, right? What product he wants to click on, right? So let me do it here. So I'll say product name, and I'll provide a value. Okay, I'll provide a value. This is href tag. Okay, let's provide this only right now. Otherwise, what you can do is you can also work on the text of that link, right? But as of now, I'll just use it like this so that I don't have to write a locator for it. The third thing what we need is we need another thing. So we are done with home. So this, right? Now we are on the product page. This is my product page. So I'll say product, and for the product I will have the size, right? So I'll say size is M. Color is green. Quantity is, let's say, 3. Okay, so we are done with the product size also. Now the last part, we wanted to have some data for our checkout screen, right? Which is this one. Let's grab it and come here. So this is for checkout screen, right? Checkout. What we need is we need full name, I believe. Full name. We'll provide a value. After this, we need telephone number. Telephone. We'll provide a value. Then we need what? We need, I think it was state, I believe. Okay, let's check here. What did it wanted? It wanted address, right? Address. It wanted city, I believe. Yes, city. It needed country. It needed city. Sorry, city is done. Province. And it needed one more thing, which was postcode. Okay, postcode. Now, full name. So let's grab here. Let's grab all the values. Let's grab it and place it here. Let's copy this one by one. Akhil Jain is here. Telephone value is here. Delhi is address. Ghaziabad is the city. This is the postcode. This is United States. The country part. This is Alabama, which is the province. Okay, great, right? So we got all of these. We have couple of more, right? In this test case, if you see, right, we also wanted to select our shipping method, and we also wanted to select the cash, right? This delivery method. Let's put it here only, right? So what we'll do is we'll say delivery method. So we'll give a value to it, and then we'll say payment method. Okay. So we'll say payment method standard. Let's copy this, place it here. Click cash. Let's do this here also. Okay, so now our JSON file is ready, our test file is ready. So one job is done. If you wanted to create more test cases, what you will do is you will come here, put a comma, and create a new test case 2. Okay, so you will do something like this. As of now, test case one is what we needed, right? Now, so this part is done. So let's close this. Let's close all this. Right. So we're done with this. Now our test data is done. The second thing which we want firstly is the file util. We wanted to read this JSON file, right? Again, it's a very straightforward process. What we'll do is again I will not be able to explain the internals of FS and all. If you want, then please refer back those chapters from JavaScript. You will get to know, okay, what how does file system and all this work. But I'll just write the code for it. So what we have is we have util, okay, utils, and in the utils we'll create a file called file util. File. I'm giving a name to utility, right? So this is currently I wanted to work. I wanted to write a utility for the reading the file. So I'm creating a file util. Tomorrow, if you want to read from, let's say, from some external source, right, data source, so you can write database util, right, or something else, Excel util and all that. So just a utility folder which is meant only to work with the utility, right, as per your choice. So TS. So we are here, right? Now what we'll do is we can create what we will directly create functions there, right? Because we do not want to access through an object of a class. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say export function, and let's give a name as let's say read JSON. Okay. Now over here, what we'll do is in the read JSON, let's write the code. Now we wanted to read from this file, right? We wanted to read from this file end-to-end JSON. Now, how would you read it? You need a file path. Someone needs to provide your file path, right? You need to make it. You need to make this generic. Now, to make this generic, so you will require input from the function, which we did. Now, what we'll do is we'll make use of our file system library. So we'll say fs dot sorry fs. Okay, we'll have to import this. Let's import the fs library. Import asterisk as fs from fs layer. Okay. Again, I'm repeating, right? We have discussed about file system. We have dedicated one entire day for file system. So please, if you have a query, do check there, and I'm sure your query will get resolved. Okay. But how we are going to read it? We are going to read it through file read file sync synchronously, right? So here, what we'll do is we need to give the file path. So this is our file path. If you see the method, it needs to input the path of the file, and then the here, right, we will also specify this encoding thing. Otherwise, it will not pick up the file. So this is the file path, and then we'll say UTF-8, I believe that is what we have to specify. Okay, now what it will do is this this fs will help us to read the file, right? The file which we'll give here, right? And then it will be able to read the file and give the content to us. So we need to collect the content. We'll say const data is this. Okay. Now what we'll do is we will return this data. Okay, we're going to return this data. Now we'll create one more function. Now if you see, right, if you see, if by doing this you will get the entire data, right? But let's say if you are working on the login thing, right, you would want to access only this information, right? So what we'll do is we'll create one more method, export function. We'll say okay. If you see, right, what I'm saying is where it went here, right? If you see, right, you have multiple test cases, right? Test case 1, test case 2, test case 3. You can have 100 of test cases in a single file. What you want is that as of now, by doing this first operation, right, it read the complete content, right? Every content which this file might be having. What I want to collect right now is I want to collect the data of this test case 1, first of all, right? This specific test case. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll create a function which will take the input of the test case name which you want to read the data of, right? So we'll say read JSON data for test case. Okay, for test case. And what we'll do is we will do what we will need the file path of our JSON file. and we will need the test case name. Let's say test case name, which will be again a string. Now, if you see, right, we already have a function to read the entire file. So what we'll do is we'll just call this function read JSON, and we will provide the file path to it, right? And we will get the data, const data here, right? Now try to understand what this data is about, what this file will do. It will give you, right, this reading this JSON itself, right? This fs, this happens internally, right? This is a JSON thing, right? This is a JSON concept. When you read a file, right, through this fs, what it will do is, at least a JSON file, it will convert this automatically to a JavaScript object. Okay, now how do you now try to understand this, that you are accessing this entire thing, right, this entire thing as a JavaScript object. Now this is a key inside your JavaScript object, right? So what you can do is, you can just access it, right, in that JavaScript object. So in a JavaScript object, how do you access a key? You access it like this, under these square brackets. So you will just say this test case name, and you will get the content of it, right? And you can just return it. Okay, so you will return it. Now this is our utility. Yeah, Anand, please.
Is this what we call a serialization?
Okay, see, uh, serialization and deserialization, right? When you
Yeah.
talk about it, I could say, right, if you were in the Java world, right, in the Java world, the serialization means that you have a JSON file and you wanted to convert this into a Java object. Okay, I know that concept from Java world, right? I mean, from the Java side.
Hmm.
So if you are converting your JSON into a Java object, right, you call it as serialization. And if you do the opposite of it, it is called a deserialization. Okay, this is clear.
Yeah.
Do we have the similar terminology for JavaScript? Maybe yes, maybe no, right? I don't know. So I will have to check whether it is called with that name or not. But if I go to the essence of it, yes, this is what you can relate. Like this is a serialization operation only, where you're converting a JSON thing into a JavaScript object. Getting it? In case of Java, you do it what? You do JSON to Java object. So in a way, it is serialization.
But
Okay.
from what I can recall from Java world is over there was some object mapper class that gets used in order to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Here
here
it
it is,
is automatically.
yeah,
Here it is happening automatically, right?
that's the way, that's the point where I'm little confused, like how it is doing it.
See, JSON stands for what? It stands for JavaScript
Java,
object notation.
yeah,
Object notation, right? So
yeah,
in a way, right, it is already following the template which a JavaScript object already has, which is a key value pair kind of a combination, right?
okay.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
internally, when you do this fs, right, you try to read a JSON file through this, right? It automatically converts it into a JavaScript object.
Oh,
That is the information which you need to have.
okay, okay, okay,
Okay.
okay, okay. Yeah, that clears the question.
Okay, great. So now we have the file util also, right? Let's go and pick a box here, right? So we have the test data and we have the utility, right? To read the content of the file. Now what do we need? Now what I also wanted, that I wanted, see, if you go back to your code and look at here, right? In this code, you see in the login I have given username and password. Oh, sorry. Username and password. Now think of it like someone tomorrow, see, again, it's a JSON file, right? Everyone is free to go and make a change here, correct? Anyone can come here and change this username to something else. Let's say it will say username 123, or let's say password to password 123, right? I cannot control it. At least in a JSON file, I cannot control it. Where I would like to have a control on, where this information would be used in my test case. I don't want anyone to use this directly. Okay, I want to have it with a wrapper. Okay, with a wrapper, that so that only the right information is passed through to the test case. Okay, now to have that control, first of all, you cannot have it on a JSON file, because it's like a text file, right? Everyone has the access to it. They can just come in and make a change. Okay, where we can have the access, what we'll do is we will create a data layer. Okay, I will call it as a data layer, or a data controlling layer, let's say, right? So what I'll do is I'll create, let me create a layer first. I'll create a data layer just to make sure that people are okay, not the file. I have to get a folder, data controller layer. Okay, let's say this. Now here, what I'll do is for every page, right, which would require some input, right? What I'll do is I'll create an interface for it. So let's say I want to do it for login, right? So I'll say login data layer.ts. Okay. Now here I will create an interface where I will describe that what a login data will look like. Okay. So login data layer. Let me call it as L capital, and we'll have what we want. We want two things, right? Username and password. Let's copy this out. The name, username, which is of type what? It would be a type of string, right? Great. What is the other thing? Password. So it would be of type. So password would be of type what? String only, right? So here, if someone tomorrow tries to provide here a numeric, a number value or something else, an array or something, right? And while reading it through the data layer, it will there itself restrict the user to use it. Okay, we'll see that part. So we did it for login data layer. Great. Let's create the other layers also. What are the other layers? Home layer, right? Home data layer.ts. So here again, we'll say export interface home data layer. And what we'll do is we'll go here and we need product name, right? So let's copy this. The product name goes to string, right? Okay. The third layer would be what? It would be product layer. Product data the layer.ts. What I want to do here is I wanted to grab three things, right? Let's size, color, quantity. Let's grab it here. Export interface, and we have product data layer. And what we need is we need this. Okay, let's just remove it. Size, which is again of string. Color, which is again string. And the third thing was what? I believe quantity. Quantity. It would be again a string as of now, right? So three things are done, and the last thing is this checkout. Let me just grab it like this, and we'll create new file called checkout data layer.ts. Okay, let's say export interface checkout data layer. Okay, let's remove it. Let's use it like this. Full name, string, telephone, string, address. Okay, city, country, province, postcode, delivery method, and payment method. Let's remove all this, and let's copy this and paste it here. Okay. Okay, so we have our data layer also ready. Okay. Okay, so we have told, right, what all parameters I'm going to have in the data and what is the type of it. Okay, so we have the data layer. Great. This layer is also ready, which is this one, right, which is the interface layer, which will think of it like a controlling layer, right, which will control like who can pass on what kind of data and what all parameters. Okay, so this is what this controlling layer will do. Now, what we'll do is we'll need to have DAO layer, which is like your getters and setters. Now, to create a DAO layer, right, it looks like this. Let's say, I'll just give an example. Let's say if on a UI for the login screen, right, you have two things: username and password. You need input from the user. What you'll do is you'll create a class called export class. Let's say login input DAO. Okay, here you will create a constructor, and you'll use constructor for setting up the values. Okay, here you will accept a username and password. Okay, here if you see, right, we are saying username and password. I know that we have already created a controlling layer for the input, right, which is at the interface level, which is login controller, right, the data controller. So instead of saying this, we will say login controller, right, that login controller here object, right, and then we will create some instance variables for this username and password, and we will assign it here using this object, and then we'll have some getters, okay, just to get username and get password, something like this, and we will do it for all the pages where the data is required. Let's do this and maybe it can make sense. So we'll go there. Just a second, someone is pinging. Okay. Where is it? Check out data layer. Not here. Data control layer. So we'll get a DAO layer now. A new folder. DAO. And again, DAO will have two layers within it. One is the input layer. So we are currently working at the input layer. So let's keep it there. Input DAO layer. Input DAO, let's say, right? Input DAO. And within the input DAO, we wanted to have for the login page, right? So here we'll do it. We'll say in login. We have kept all the file names as small, right? Yeah, it's small only. So let's do it for this also. New file, login, input, DAO.ts. Okay, so we'll say export class input. We can also say default. So that is going to be the only class which this page will have. So we'll say login input DAO and this part export default. Okay, so we'll have constructor, right? And what we'll do is we'll have some variables here: private username, which would be your type string, private, which will be your password, which will be a type of string, and we don't need to use these commas. It will be semicolons. Okay, now here, right, we want to assign the values to this variable, right? We'll do it through constructor. What we will do is we'll say this dot the password, let's say, and this dot username. Now we want to do this, right? Now what value should I pass here, right? What value should I pass here? Now you can do something like this, right? It's someone who creates this object, right? See, what is the flow? Let's understand the flow first. The flow looks like this. You have a JSON file. You have a JSON file where data is residing. You will convert this data into a JS object, right? Through that util, right, which we created, right? The file util. So file util will do this, right? File util will need an input from you that okay, which test case you want to read. So you will give the test case name to it, and accordingly it will pick up the data and convert it into a JavaScript object, right? So your JavaScript object contains login information, home, product, and checkout. All four are available here, right? Now this entire JavaScript object, right? It's a JavaScript object, and these are your keys now, right? Now what we need is we wanted to, let's say now this is our test spec file. This is a test spec file where we have written that for the login page, right? Login page, that fill credential. And for fill credentials, we have to provide username and password. Currently, we were directly providing the value, right? I am saying we will not provide it. We will provide it through a DAO layer. So what we are going to do is we are going to introduce a DAO layer for login. So this is my input DAO. This is my input DAO, and let's say this is for login. So what I will do is, right, So somehow I want this login thing, right, which is my input DAO, which has two fields within it, which is username and password. I want this. I want to set the values of this login username, right, which I have here over here, right? And then what I'll do is I'll pass this object login DAO to this. So I'll say login DAO, right, which will be of type login DAO, right? We'll just pass that value, and we'll create a login DAO object here outside, which will be by new login DAO, right? Now this is you're calling the constructor. Now what value will you pass here? What value will you pass here, right? That is the question here. So let's see that part. Okay. Now, so what you are saying is that login DAO is an input to your POM file, right? This is your POM function, right? So DAO is an input to your POM files. Now, how do you receive the data from here to here? You receive it through the controlling layer, which is your data controlling layer, which we just treated. Okay, so try to understand the concept. We have the JSON file. From JSON file, you get JavaScript object. From the JavaScript object, you will push the data from here, right, and check the sanity of the test of the data using the data controller and push it to the DAO object. Using the DAO object, you will feed the data into the POM layer, right, and from the POM layer, right, it will go and it will receive it and do the execution on the screen. So that is the complete flow of execution. What we have already done is we have created JSON file, we have the JavaScript object in the file util, we have created the controlling layer, right, and we are now creating this login DAO. Let us use it here and then understand like how the data will come from here to the controlling layer, right? So then once we have all the setup done, you will understand like how the data is flowing. So let's go back on this part. And what I'm saying is, in this login input DAO, right? Okay, let me create some getters method here, a set getter method here, right? So I'll say public get username, and we'll say return this dot username, right? Like this. Public get password, and we'll say return this dot password. Correct. Now we need to set these values. How we are going to set the values? What we'll do is we'll first go to our test case. So if you see, right, we have input DAO, we have the controlling layer, we have the test data, and we have the util also, right? Now let's go to our spec file. In this spec file, now we don't need this information, right? We want to read it from somewhere else. What we'll do is, how we'll do it? We will have to first call this method, read JSON data for test case. So we'll come here. We'll call this method. Let us see how quick is this. Implement this, right? So we have imported. What will it return? It will return as a data. So I'll say const test data equals to this. Now, if you see, right, this file needs two inputs. One is the file path, another is the test case name. So test case name, I have, which is what? If you go to your file, what is the test case? PC1. So I need to read the data of this. So I'll come here and feed this up. It needs the file, right? How will you get the file? To get the file, what we'll do is there is a method called process.cwd, right? Through which you can do all of that. Yes. So okay. Again, not sure how to tell you this, but okay. Let's form the file path. Okay. I'll say const file path. Now to create the file path, if you see, okay, if you do this, right, process.cwd, right, cwd. Now this is again a very handy way to get your current working directory. Your current working cwd stands for current working directory. It will show you, right, that directory, right, where you're currently, right, that is your root directory, which is your fs playwright, right? So if you do this, right, and try to print it, it will print the path of this file, this folder, fs playwright. Now you are already here, right? So you get the path of this fs playwright through this thing, right? Now you need to add what? You need to somehow add this file path that you want, you will traverse from the test directory, then you will go from test directory to what file, what folder, this test data, and from the test data, you, this is your file, right? You want to do something like this, right? How do you join this, right? For joining this, again, we have covered this. There's a library called path which you will use, and for that, right, you will have to import this, and you will write something like this: import asterisk as path from path, right? This is what we need, and let's go down and here, right? So we'll say we want to join this with this, right? So what we'll do is we'll say path dot join. It will take the first input as the process dot twd, okay, and then your file which you want, the path which you concatenate will be comma separate, like this and this way, right? Now, if you would see the file path, it would be the file path, the correct file path, right? To reach to your end-to-end JSON file, which contains the test data. Now this becomes a file path. You will just inject it here. Okay. So now after this operation, right? After this operation, you will have the content inside the test data. Okay. So you will have the, now we have the data in test data. Now, if you see the test data, this is what you have. This is what you will have. Okay. From login to the checkout, this part. Okay. Now what we need is we have created controller layer, right, for login, for home, for product, and for checkout, right? We have got this, right? What we want to do is, since test data is a JavaScript object, right? Is a JavaScript object which does that. So if I want the data, right? So if you see again, right, these are like keys. So this is the data of your JavaScript object. So this is one key where the value of the key is this. This is another key where the value of the key is this. This is the third key where the value is this. Similarly, the fourth key and the value of the key is this, right? Now what I can do is, since this is the JavaScript object, I can access the key, let's say login, right? By doing what? By doing this. I'll say test data login, right? This will give me what? This will give me the data which is placed under this part, which is this thing, right? Now, what I want to do is, I want to make sure that the data which I'm reading is as per the compliance, okay? As per the compliance. Now, to do that, what I will do is, I'll create a variable, const, let's say login data, okay? Login data. But I will tell that this login data variable would be of type what? Would be a type of my controlling layer like data, right? Which is what? Which is this login data layer. Login data layer. And this is how it will work. So now you create a variable called login data, right? Which is of type this, and you're trying to read the data this, right? Now it will do what? It will try to read this data, and if this data does not match to the if this does not match to like what this layer expect, right? You will see an error coming up. Okay, and this helps you to control your let's say some mistakes which someone would have done in feeding the data. Okay, or maybe by mistake have changed the variable names here, right? Or did some different types of data. Let's say you were expecting string, right, and they have provided an array. Then also it's a mismatch, right? So you can see, right, you are trying to do a data kind of a sanity, right, on your test data. Okay, and this will really help you over there. Now we created this login data layer, right? Now what you have is your data is there, right? So if you're understanding it well, try to understand this. You had data in JSON, you got it into a JS object. Now in the JS object, right, you extracted the data for a particular layer, right, and you controlled, right, you are putting some checks so that uh, uh, goes through compliance check compliance check using data controller layer, right? Data controller layer, and you have a variable now, right? You have a variable. Now I don't want to feed this variable directly, right? No. What I will do is I will pass this data controller layer output, right, to my DAO layer, to my DAO layer. So to pass on this data to DAO layer, what I'll do is I'll create a variable. I'll create a variable const login input DAO, which would be type of what? Login input DAO, this one, right? Okay. And what I'll do is I'll call new login input DAO. And here, right, if you see, right, what I'm doing, I'm trying to call this constructor here, right? Now, under this constructor, what I'll do is I'll say that someone has to provide the value username and password. Where is my username and password sitting? Tell me. It is sitting. If you check my test code, where is my data? Where is my username and password sitting? It is sitting here, right, in this variable, right? What I'll do is I'll just inject it here, right? And I will make my constructor compliant accordingly. So what I will say is, let me copy this part. I will go to my login in data layer. Sorry, not here. Where is my login data input DAO, right? This one. Here, I'm going to say that someone will provide me data of this type. So let me import this. Quick fix, add import. And I will do what? I will say login data layer dot username. Login data layer dot password. Okay. So try to understand what is happening now. If you again see, right, JSON, from JSON you got to JavaScript object. From JavaScript object you are passing the data through a compliance layer through data controller layer, right? And then from data controller layer you will pass on the data if it is correct to the DAO layer. And from the DAO layer, right, now we have the data in DAO layer. Using this operation, right, using this operation your values are set. Now I want to get those data, right, get user and password. Now see here, right, instead of passing them separately like this, right, what I will do is I will remove them and I will go to this method, and instead of using them separately, what I'll do is I will say that people, if someone wants to call this, they will have to say, they will have to provide me an input of this type, login input DAO. Okay. Now I'll go back over here. This is my login input DAO, right? And I will have the value. Now go there. You need to access them, right? How will you access? You will say login input DAO dot get username, login input DAO dot get password, and you are done. This is you. If you see, right, we are doing a lot of things, right, just to receive that username password. But try to understand, by doing this, right, you are making your code very robust. Okay, you're making your layers very strong. Now you are controlling the loophole, right, which someone can come and feed anything which they feel like. Okay, you are controlling it. You are saying that my page object modules will only accept an object of DAO layer, right? Now someone will have to form a DAO layer accordingly, right? So for the DAO layer, the input is this layer, right? And for this layer, right, which is your compliance layer. So if someone provides for this, right, your input is the JavaScript object formed from this JSON file. Now, if you see, right, if something is wrong here in the JSON file, it will be caught at this layer itself, which is at which step? Which is at step number, this one, step number 22. If you start providing something garbage, right, and at the time of runtime, if someone provides some garbage to it, and we are controlling that login data has to be of this type, right, and if the data is not matching to this need, it will fail here itself. Okay, TypeScript will start complaining that no, this is not correct. Okay, so this is how you will do all the flow, right? So we have done for one layer, right? We have done for one login screen. We'll do it for these three also, right? These two also. Okay, so okay, first of all, any questions on this from the process side? Velan, Kiran, Anand?
I think the process is quite clear. It's
Okay, great, right? Again, I'm repeating, right? This is same as what we did in WebDriver IO. Okay, So let's say you understood it here and you did not understood it at web developer time, you will be able to understand. You will, if you go back and check the code, you will be able to understand this now. Yeah, Anand, please.
Uh, just a question struck to my mind just now. So
Mm-hmm.
this works when we have an intention of passing the correct data, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say when we write an automation framework, we try to cover both positive and negative scenarios. So how this ends up for a negative scenario? Like we want that test case to fail, but in this case, it won't come to the POM step, right? It will fail on the step number three, where the compliance check will happen.
Okay. So what you will do is you will create some methods accordingly, right? You will create some methods accordingly in your POM file. Okay. Again, you will have to find a solution based. I mean, based on the problem, right? So what I will say is, let's say you expect that username would be left blank,
Yeah, let's say yeah.
right? Let's say, right, you want to say that username would be left blank. What you can do is, right, you will do what? See, okay, how can I tell you this? Uh, okay, so login input DAO, right? So login data, which is this. Mm, okay, you're providing the value, you fill this, right? Now let's say you got this login input DAO, right? Here, right? Let's say you provide some correct value from there, from the page or somewhere, right? You can still go and modify this. Let's say, right, you provide something. If you are following this, see again, what approach I'm telling right now, right, is as per what I feel you should have, right? So that you can have a compliance. But let's say if this is creating a problem for you, you can skip this layer, and you can directly read the data from JavaScript object to a DAO layer. Okay, you can do that. It's up to you. I'm just adding this layer just to make sure that we have a compliance. The second part, let's say even if you have a compliance and all, and let's say you want to just change the value, keeping in mind that the type would be same. So no one stops you, right? What you can do is you can use this login input DAO. Okay, and if you try to access those variables, right, here as of now you have get user and password, right? You do not have a setter method. Go and create a setter method over here, and you can directly replace the value of the field whichever you want to use, and create it like different type, right? Let's say this can accept a string and a number also. So the solution would be depending on these, right? If you have these checks in place, you will have to function accordingly. But if you want more liberty, then you will have to do things like this. Yeah, Kiran, please.
Yeah, so I was thinking, in that JSON you can create one more array for negative data and pass that negative data, and then we can create interface according to that. And whenever we wanted to test with positive, we can test with positive, and when we wanted to test with negative, we can test with negative. Something
What
like that you can do.
you can do, but think of this way, right? See, there is always one way. Uh, if you have to cover a happy flow, right? It is only one way, right? Let's say
Right,
to achieve something, right? There is only one correct path to achieve. Let's say, and there are unlimited ways to do it incorrectly. Correct?
right.
That is how life is also, right? If you want to
Yes,
do this correctly, you have to do everything correct in a sequence somewhere, right? And then you will reach to the end. And to distract yourself and all, right, you have 100 or different ways to do it. Similarly, if I go by your input, what you said today, if I think, okay, this could be a negative case, then yes, you can plan it. But tomorrow it would be a different day, and I could think, okay, today I feel it would be like a different inputs which I have to provide. Yesterday I was thinking I will provide null, today I think I will provide undefined. Getting it?
right.
And or let's say today I'm thinking I'll provide two inputs, tomorrow I start thinking I'll provide five inputs to it. Again a problem.
Mm,
So again, you will have to work in the, I mean, you will have to think it like what exactly is your need, and accordingly solution will be provided. But what I'm suggesting is, if you wanted to make sure that things are working, if you want to have a compliance in between, this is a very good approach to use. Yeah, well then please.
Yeah, Akhil. For dynamic data, for example, name, first name, I want to generate through using my own function to generate my first name, last name, and
Uh-huh.
postcode. a random postcode, all those
Right,
dynamic
right.
data. So how do we go about in this framework? How do
Okay.
we handle
See,
that? Yeah.
okay. Tell me one thing. What does this login data is trying to? What we are trying to tell here? Login data. We are saying that it would be a type of login data layer, right?
Yeah.
And what does login data layer mean? It means that you can accept an object which looks like this: username and password, correct?
Mm. Okay.
Let's create an object. Const login object. Let's say, right, login object, and I will create it like this, right? I will say username equals to, let's say, I will say any random thing, right? Like something like this. Similarly, password. Okay, and I'm saying any again any something like this. Let me give a let's say platform and array. I will say Akhil. I will say Jen. Now you are free to create any object, right? But as soon as you will say that this object is of type this, you will complain, right? It starts complaining. Oh, you cannot assign a string, right? Type string is not assignable to type string, right? So to correct it, what you need? You need to do this, right? And now everything is good again. Okay, username is again have a problem. Object literal may only specify known properties. Does not exist in login data layer. Did you mean username? You see, right? It is also complaining about the capital N. So this really helps me in compliance. But again, coming to your point, well, right? Let's say you are saying you want to generate data, right? Some dynamic data. You can do it, right? You can create a utility in the utility file which will have methods to generate username, password, or some string, right? And over here, right, you can call those methods,
Yeah.
and you will receive the values, right? And this is how you can form the object. It is an object of layer login data layer. You can just feed this object to this,
Yeah. Yeah. So
and it will
instead
work,
of
right?
instead of reading from the file, I will read from my dynamic
Absolutely
data.
correct. And this is what people do, right? Where
Yeah.
where they do not care about input to be provided by the user. They want to generate it dynamically on the screen,
Okay.
maybe for firing the API calls, right?
Yeah.
So this is what you can do. Yeah, Kiran.
Yeah, we are also using Faker library to generate dynamic data every time.
See again, right? If you would ask me, this is what you are saying, right? Is the approach, right, which people should use if you also have the access to your API layer, okay? Where you want to club your UI automation with the power of API to generate the data, right? So that you can consume it and generate it rapidly, so that you can just test the objective of your test case only, right? If let's say I want to test something on the checkout screen, right? What, think about it, right? What I need to do, if I talk from the manual point of view, you will have to log in, you will have to select the product, you will have to add them to the cart, then select and say that okay, move it to there, right? So there are 3 4 operations to be done. If you do it through manually from the UI, it will take some time, as we have seen. But if you have the direct APIs to fill the checkout object, right, over there, people should use that only, and that is where those dynamic generation of the data comes into the picture. But since our use case is only specific to UI, that's why I'm not explaining all those aspects.
Yeah.
But yes, you are
But why?
correct. That is
Yeah.
what you should be doing.
I
Yeah.
asked you this question is, Akhil, because current framework, right? What they have done is, so we have something like first name, last name, date of birth, and address.
Mhm,
So what these
mhm,
guys have done it, those who have written they have maintained a file where they have random names there. First name, last
mhm.
name, they have random names. So when my script runs, it randomly selects one of the, you know,
Absolutely
names
correct,
from
right?
the file.
Yes.
And date of birth, how it calculates is, say for example, it against what I input 30 years from today. So
Mhm,
he's 30 years today. So he goes back for today's date. It picks
mhm.
up today's date and it does the minus 30. It is the logic
Right.
and randomly picks a date from 30 days from now, 30 years, sorry, 30
Right.
years from now, and generates a date and inputs into the UI. So, that is why I was saying, so it is dynamic. So I want to create, so for example, my test case says, okay, I create a claimant who is 45-year-old. So I don't
Mhm.
have to, go and just calculate manually what is 45, what is the date of the year of, and all the stuff. My logic does that. Current date it will take, and it's a 45 years. It automatically calculates the year, date, exact date.
Mhm.
What is who is 45 in the range now, today's date. So it automatically inputs the date of birth. So Could because see, it all depends on the product, right? Some product is say that above 40 it's not allowed, above 50 not allowed, pension
Right.
age is 65, less than 65 pension should not be given. This sort of thing. That's why I was asking you that question.
No, absolutely correct, right? And just to tell you, right, and just to make the point very clear, right? Data generation, right? Data generation is a very important aspect of your framework
Yes.
design.
Yes.
Okay. And if you have the access to your API layers, right? I would say generating that power, right? So that I mean creating that power to generate data, right? From using different techniques, let's say randomizing the data, or let's say hitting the APIs to generate to do the operation directly through APIs and receive the response from the APIs and then consume the data for your test files, right? Which is your UI test cases. Is an art, okay? Is a very good art,
Yes.
and people who knows about it, I can tell you, right? Those are the people who can really sustain anywhere, okay? Because that is like the highest level of what you can learn, right, in framework designing. Okay. Test generation is the culprit in a lot of the places, right? What happens is if you run multiple test cases with this hard coded data, right, using the same user and all that, right,
And it's no
what
use.
will happen? Parallelly, one test case trying to add a product, parallelly the second test case is trying to delete a product. Then you will say, okay, what is wrong with the application? There is nothing wrong with the application. Wrong is where the test data. You are providing two test cases which are doing the alternative jobs, and those will have an impact on the UI, right? And your application will not work properly. Okay, or I should say it is working properly. It is you who is not treating it well, right? So generating the test data itself is an art, and it will take some expertise, right, from the people to do that. But your questions, all your questions are valid, right? Whatever which everyone has asked, and I hope you're getting the point also, right? But in our case, since I do not have the access to the API, I cannot do that, right? And I'm sticking to the formula of receiving the data from the user in a form of a JSON file, in a form of an Excel file, or maybe from a data source, right? But no one stops you to randomize the data to generate it dynamically, but you should know the core part of things. If you know it, you can design anything, right? Yeah, Anand, please go ahead.
Again, I'll ask a very quick question. Let's say tomorrow, if I sit in an interview and I'm being asked a question that design a framework for any random application, and if I am being asked that how will you handle negative scenarios? So in that, how do I answer in if I'm giving them this setup as an answer to my framework design?
Okay, first of all, what you will do is, let's say I gave you this framework and I said, okay, I have created this framework. Go and add a negative test case where username would be of type, let's say number, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I asked you this, and what will be your input? You will first of all talk to yourself and say, okay, technically everything is feasible. Okay, let's make ourselves very comfortable about it. We should always say, okay, if someone has asked us to design something, our first thought should be, okay, this is feasible. It's just that, so your half job is done. Okay, the second job is to find the way to do it. Now think about it. What is our flow? You're reading from the JSON file, right? Let it be there. Okay, let it be what you want to feed here. Let's say Akhil, right? Let's say I want to feed here. Let's say I want to feed here an object. Okay, let's say I want to feed here an object, or let's not. Okay, it will be too much complex. Let's say I want to feed here a true value, like something like this. Okay, a boolean value. Now this is a negative test case for username, right?
Yeah.
So what can you do? You will say, okay, what I will do is I will go to my login data layer over here. Here my username is of type string, and that is what creates a problem. That is what puts a restriction on, right? What I will do is I will make it using the union type, right, in TypeScript. I will say that this username can be a string or a boolean, and my job is done.
No, but this defies the very purpose of creating this compliance layer, isn't it?
See, again, as I said, right, it depends what is your context, right? If you have a context that, okay, I will be only checking the compliance part, then you will go through this way, right? You will go through this way. Ultimately, if you see, right, okay, if you see, right, where is it? right? You have to hit these methods, right? These methods, okay? And if you have created a logic to go through compliance layer, then you do not have then you do not have an option left, okay? Otherwise, there is not an option left, okay? The only option, if you want to take this away and give the full power to anyone to feed anything, then you can do what you can just remove this layer and without using this, directly try to receive the value from the test data here.
So okay, so given this reasoning, so let's say if there is a specific ask to validate the error messages for username, in that case I have to bypass the compliance and I have to like design a separate test case. Definitely it will be a negative test case, so it will be a separate test case. And maybe I can put up a new test data section in the JSON, but I'll just bypass the data control layer and I'll then and directly access that test data into the test case, and at the end maybe assert the negative message or error message that I want to that's been asked as a part of question. Is that what you're suggesting? If I have understood it right?
Okay, see, I could not get the complete question, but what I can say is here is, right, see, this compliance thing, right, which you see over here, what you can do is, there you will have to play with this compliance layer only, okay, if you want to bring that thing to this part. There are ways, right, to do it. What you can do is, you can go to this input DAO data, this layer, right, which is the data layer. Where is it? This way, right? Now let's say I want to make this as optional. This is how you make it optional. If you want to change the type of it, this is how you will keep on adding, right? You are saying that you want to allow user to feed anything to it, right? So then accordingly type it, right? You can do what? Just say it any. Any is the data type in TypeScript which allows you to feed anything to it, and it will make it optional also by using this question mark. So
Okay.
if tomorrow I do not provide a username also, then also I'm fine.
Yeah, so that means that I'm intentionally trying to validate a negative scenario. Okay, I'm clear until this point. Next, what will happen in this case?
What will happen is that when you will try to read the data from this JSON, right, you into the JS and then convert it and pass it through this layer, right, it will allow you to pass that data.
Yeah,
if you have, let's say, if you do not have the username, let's say, right, it will still allow. And let's say you have a username and you provided any kind of data, it will still allow this.
okay,
Getting it?
okay,
So that is what your purpose is, right, of saying that, okay, I want to have some invalid data in those cases, right? So this
okay,
is how you can feed this.
okay.
Okay, so
And
this is how the flow would be, and then the data can reach to your form files, and from there it will do whatever the actions are being mentioned there.
okay, so if I can visualize on the POM, I will get some blank value. Let's say we are testing blank, and when we let's say on the UI, when the playwright will try to fill in blank, and there it might give me an error that username cannot be blank, and that's what I will be validating in the
Absolutely
test.
correct. Yes, that is what you will going to do.
Okay, okay, okay. Now I think I have my answer.
Yeah, Kiran, please.
Just one more ideas I am getting. I will say, and if it's wrong, you can say. So it's like previously what I was thinking is create two sets of data in that JSON. One is positive set and second is negative. And the scenarios we have to create a test which will be parameterized for positive and negative. So we can create uh, two sets of using the test dot describe and then test, and in before each we can create data and then pass for each test using for each, and then we can inside that we can pass for positive cases and then negative. So one test logic will get two sets of data, and on behalf of that data it will give two results. For one positive case it will pass, or negative case it will fail. Is it also a correct way?
Kiran, what you're suggesting is, you're saying that that we'll create a group of test cases using describe block, right? And then what we'll have is, we'll have some we'll try to generate data there itself using some variables, let's say an
Right.
array of information, and then we will iterate through that array, and during that iteration we will call the same test case again and again, right?
Yes.
Now if you do this, right, again, what you're saying is a way to run same test case multiple times, which is okay. But again, the real problem is, if we go by this framework, the problem would be that if you hard code, right, that okay, that username has to be string, then whatever you try to do using that, whatever you're saying, right, they will still face the issue at that layer, right? That okay, data
Right.
layer will not even allow to move ahead. So
Right.
I'm trying to hit that problem itself, right? The core problem. The core problem is that you will have to change something at the data layer itself.
Right.
You will make
Understood.
things optional, and you will make that data type could be anything. That is where you're giving the control, you're giving the full power to the user to do anything with the test data, right?
Right.
If
Right.
that is the purpose, yes, do that. But if I want to make sure that people do not provide unnecessarily some garbage to my test data, I can control it. Just learn it from that perspective, right? That if you want a full control, you will just use the data layer, right, and make things accordingly, right? So for
Right.
me, if I want to have the hard, let's say, compliance, I will make sure that this exists and it is of type string. Even the names has to match. If names does not match, right, then also it creates a problem. See here, if I say username as NA, right, and there I was saying small n, go there. Where is my file? We're trying to read this. Here, right, internally it will throw an error.
Right.
Login data, okay, right? So it will do that thing, right? But again, I don't want to run it, but right, we just saw that part in while we were creating the object also. Okay, Anand, is it clear now, or you have a question?
Yes, yes, I am clear. Just a a question from practice point of view. Is it good? Is it a good? Will it be a good practice to maintain two different data layers as per need?
Why?
Just to
No, it's not a good practice, and you should never do it.
okay,
Don't try to, overdo things, right?
okay,
TypeScript already has a way, right, using that any and all that, right? So
okay,
make use of those approaches.
okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Otherwise, creating duplicate, today you're creating it for one purpose, tomorrow you will think of creating multiple layers, right, of the
Yeah.
same thing multiple times. Again, it is not good for your framework. It is
Okay.
not maintainable.
Okay.
Always remember, right, you should try to create a framework where you can make a change in one place, okay, and it can have an impact on the entire framework.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
Correct. Yep.
only then it can be a scalable and a maintainable framework. Otherwise, you will always come and say, okay, we have something to fix every day, right? It should not be the case. You designed a framework, you designed it with the purpose that it should get extended and it should be scalable, not with the purpose that tomorrow that every day someone will come and see and try to fix some existing issues again and again. Okay,
Got it.
so from that perspective, I'm saying, right? Okay, so I think we are good on this side, right? So this is our test data layer. Let me just fix this value. I'll say it as philJDA@gmail.com, and let's run the execution, right? Before that, we have to complete everything. Where we are, we got the file, we got the test data. This is for logging. Okay, one more thing. Let's go to layer. We fix this. Here also it is fixed. Okay, so what are we saying? Just a second. So our that controlling layer was done, right? We have to create our input DAO layers. Let's finish those also. So where is our test case? This is our test case, right? We have to do it for product details, right? So I will go to here and create a new file called product input DAO.ts. Okay, and here I will say export default class product input DAO. I'll call a constructor, and here I will call this layer, which is product data layer, right? Product data layer, which is product data layer. Okay, and the constructor has to be small p, constructor p is extra, constructor, and this part. Okay, now what we'll do is, what all inputs we need? We need three values, right? Those three values are private, private, let's say the color, right? Color, it would be of type string. Private, size, it would be of type string. Private, this would be of type, what was the quantity, right? Quantity, again string. Again, right? I would say, right, to be consistent with the name. I feel I'm not consistent, but yeah, as per of your framework, right? Try not to create different names for the same thing. Okay, if you see, right, I have to use these things in form layer also, here also, and somewhere else also, right? Keeping the name consistent will help you not to make mistakes. Okay, but again, like me, right, you can see, you might get into this trouble, but okay, I hope this is fine for as of now. I'll say color equals to what? Product data layer dot color. Okay, this dot size equals to product data layer dot size. Okay, quantity is quantity. So let me create that only quantity. So this dot quantity equals to product data layer dot quantity. Okay, and now I will create what? I will create some getters. So public get size, and here we will say return this dot size. अरे यार, this dot size. Okay, here again we will say public get color, and we'll say return this dot color. Okay, this dot color, not, it's not a method, it's a property. And the last part is public get quantity, return this dot quantity. Okay, so we got the product layer also, right? For input DAO layer. Let us use this also here. What I'll do is I'll create const product data, and it would be of type product data layer, and we would grab the data from our JS object, and it would be of what, with what name? Product. Okay, so this will be of type product, and right. And what we'll do is I will create another variable called const product input DAO, which is of type product input DAO, and it will be saying new product input DAO, and we'll be feeding this layer to it, and we are good. And now here we need to make change here also, right? So let's remove this part first from here, and we'll say product input DAO. We'll go to this method, and here we'll change this, and we'll say product input DAO be small, and let's import this, and we'll say product input DAO dot get size, product input DAO dot get color, product input DAO get quantity. Okay, so this is how you'll do it. So for product page, this is also done. The last thing is, so what is this part? Yeah, so this is also done. The last part here is the this page, right? The checkout page. Let's very quickly create for that also. We have not created the DAO layer for it, right? So let's create DAO layer. New field, checkout input DAO.ts. Okay, input DAO.ts. Here we are. So we'll say export default class checkout input DAO. Okay, no worries. Okay, check out input DAO, and here what we'll do is we'll create a constructor, and in the constructor we will accept what? We will accept this, right? Check out data layer. Let's open this up. Check out data layer. We want to accept this, right? So colon this, and C has to be small, and we'll have to import this. Okay, fine. And what are the inputs which it has? It has these many. Let's copy them out and let's place them here. And we'll just make a semicolon, 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 and semicolon. And we have to place everything as private, private. Let's copy this. Okay, so now again, what we'll do is we want to have those values. Check out data layer. Let's just copy this again. We'll say this and we'll put this dot full name, right? So let's copy this. Let's put 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 this. And this. And let's remove these things, right? Okay. A last messy thing, right? Okay, no worries. Let's remove this and now let's create it. So we'll say check out data layer dot full name. Okay. So again, let's copy this. Let's copy this. Let's copy this. Copy, 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 copy. Now, telephone dot address dot city dot country dot province dot postcode dot delivery method dot payment method. Okay, so we are done with the constructor part. Let's say the getters of it. Public get full name. Okay, so we'll say return this dot full name. Okay, another method public get telephone return this dot telephone. Get address return this dot address. Public get city return this dot city. Public get we have what for city country get country. This dot country, and after country we have think we have province and postcode. Okay, public get province return this dot province, and last two methods public get delivery method and payment method. Oh, postcode is pending, right? Postcode get postcode return this dot postcode. Two more methods public get delivery methods return this dot delivery method, and the last is public get payment method, return this dot payment method. Okay, so we have all the methods of this input DAO. Let's go back and let's get it. Okay, what we are saying, product. It's product, not product. Okay, so let's copy this and let's create it for the last layer, which is checkout data. Checkout data, and let's say checkout data layer. Okay, and we'll have checkout checkout input DAO, and we'll have this type here, C to be small, and we'll say checkout input DAO here, and we'll use checkout data here, and here for this we'll use checkout. Okay, so we are all good. Last part, we'll remove all this. Okay, here the problem is that we would require, okay, rather than doing this, right, I will create a method which will do all the things in a single method. Okay, this is like too much. So we'll come here and I'll create a method in this checkout form. I'll create a method called public async let's say complete checkout proceeding. Okay, proceedings. And for doing this, what I will take is I will take an input of the checkout DAO layer, but here internally I will call these methods, this dot uh, fill address details, and I'll pass a value. Then I will wait, and I will then call this dot. What are we calling here after this? We're calling select shipping method. Select shipping method, and then I will say await this dot click continue to payment. Click continue to payment. Await this dot select delivery method. Sorry, select delivery method. Select delivery method. Okay, and the last is we will call click place order button. Await this dot click place order button. And once you do it right, it returns you what? If you go to this method, it returns you this, right? That's the same thing which I will return from there also. I'll do it here and I will return this so that I can get access to that object. And complete checkout proceeding will receive, let me call this method here first. I will say await checkout form dot complete proceedings, and that's it. Okay, I will do this and comment out the above code, and let's just look at this part only. Checkout proceedings. If I go back, I'll have to I need to have that checkout input DAO, right? Checkout input DAO. Here C would be small. Now, if you look at fill address details, right? Fill address details. Here it accepts 5 values, right? Something like this. Now you can pass these values from here, right? Using this input DAO layer. You'll say input DAO, let full name, get full name. Okay. Checkout input DAO dot. We need telephone, right? Telephone. Get telephone. Let's do next one move line so that we can have some space. Checkout input DAO dot address. Get address. Checkout input DAO dot get city. Checkout input DAO. checkout input DAO dot get postcode. Let's move to the next line. Checkout input DAO dot country name, get country. Checkout input DAO dot province. And the last is, or we are done. Oh, where it went. I think we're good, right? So we are good with the method call. Now select shipping method. It needs one input of shipping type. So what I'll do is check input type dot get uh, delivery method, right? Yeah, delivery method, right? So it will give the delivery method, which is a shipping method. Oh, delivery method is here. Okay, just a second. I have to check this. What I am putting shipping method. Oh, I have right. This is shipping method, right? The shipping method receives what? It receives standard. What did I give standard to? I gave delivery method. Okay, my bad here, right? I have given wrong information, but okay, let it be. I'll use it that way only. Here it will say, here it has to be a payment method. I should have said payment method, but fine. Checkout input DAO dot get payment method. Okay, so now we are good. So all our test cases is done, right? And this would function this way. Let's go back. And now what is pending here is I have to give the object which I created here, right? Like this, and we are good. Let's run our test case and see whether this works or not. Okay. Now all the inputs we have applied. Let's see whether this works or not, or if it fails somewhere. Oh, it failed. Great. Okay, so cannot read properties of undefined reading login. Okay, what does it say is it is trying to read the value at test. Is it not getting the value of the specs itself? Oh, you see, no, just a second. This is test data. This is under the test folder. What is the path it has formed? Let us see. Test data. What it is saying? Playwright test specs end-to-end spec.ts cannot read property of undefined. Okay, somehow test data has not came up. Test data is where it is here. So file path. Let me print the file path first. Console.log file path. File path is this. Okay, and let's print the test data also. We'll see whether we're getting a test data or not. Console.log test data and test data. Let's run it and see. Okay, here the problem is, right? It is not able to read the data. It is calling as undefined. So the problem is somewhere here. Okay, let's see what is the problem. We are giving the file path. Okay, file path is what? File path is coming as this path. E drive, self, full stack bootcamp, playwright, FS playwrights, data in this. I think this is a valid path, right? Test data, we are test, playwright, FS playwright, test, then we have test data, and then we have end-to-end this one. Okay, brilliant. There is something wrong inside this test case. Okay, let's go there and see what is wrong. We are trying to give the file path, read JSON, and it does what? It Oh, my bad. Okay, here, right? Here I'm making a mistake. What I have to do is I have again here, right? We have to parse it. Okay, this is where I'm doing a mistake. I have to do JSON dot parse data. This is how it will convert. Okay, okay, okay. So ss dot read file sync, right, will give you the data which you read and using this encoding, and then you will parse that data, right, so that you can get your JavaScript object. Okay, so I think now we should be good. Uh, where is it? In the test data file. No, no. Yeah, here, right? Let's run it now. Hopefully, this should work. Running one test using one worker. Okay, great, right? It is able to read the data. It is able to reach here, fill this, going ahead, view cart, checkout, and you are here. You can see, right? It is completing all the operations. Okay, now here we have a problem. It did not click there, right? It did not click there. Okay, let's see why it's the case. Uh, some mistake here, right? It says cash payment method is cash. Uh, it should have clicks inside, right? Where is it? Checkout, get payment method, select payment method, which is cash. It should have made a click, right? Why it did not made a click? Select delivery method. Delivery method is this only. Cash on delivery. And get payment method is giving you, it does give you cash, right? It does give you cash as a value. Okay, I think there is some, it could be one of a case. Otherwise, I don't think there is an issue here right now. This code works perfectly in the morning. Okay, if it occurs again, right, we will do what? We will try to wait for that locator to be visible. That's the only thing which we can do. So maybe let's wait for it. Okay, let's wait for it actually. So it says what? Click continue to payment. Once you do a payment, we should do what? We should wait for this, right? So over here, I will do this. I will come here and say, um, let's copy this. Let's copy this part. And we'll say this dot look. So it will give you what? It will give you the text. And what I'll do is, oh, we are waiting, right? We are already waiting it for the visible part. We are already doing it. So why it is failing? Maybe. Okay. Let's do one more thing. Let's do one more thing. Let's maximize our screen. Okay. Maybe it will resolve some problem for us. So we'll say page. Do we have the maximize method here? Or I can do it at a context level. At the context level, dot uh, how do we increase the size? Maximize the screen. It is not at the context level. Is it at the browser level? I don't think so. No, it should be. Is it at the page level? Maximize. It is through navigation method somewhere, right? Okay. No, navigation is at the page level, right? Here only. So let us check. What is the method here? Expose that. mm, set set viewport size. Okay, using set viewport size we can change, but we do not have. There should be something. I don't know. I don't remember right now. Okay, fine. Okay, let's okay. Let it be there, right? Okay, or we can find if we'll see that part. Okay, let's just complete our discussion first. So in a way, right? You if you can see, right, our objective here is to make sure that data layer and all these layers are in place, right? And they are there. I hope there is no problem with that part. Okay. Now the last thing, what we need is let's say uh, let's do one more thing, right? Let's run it once. Okay, let's find the answer to that question, right? We were saying uh, how to maximize our screen in Playwright TypeScript. I'm forgetting the method. You will have to do what? Max. Oh, you will have to set the size. Okay.
There is no
But
direct method, Akhil,
there
here.
is no method. Okay, direct method. Okay, we'll have to do it
Simply
this way
set
only.
the width and height. Yeah.
So I'll have to say this only, right? I'll say await stage dot set viewport size, right? And here it will accept width and height. So let's provide that value and this, right? And this will make this over there. Okay. Okay. What I want to do is I wanted to have our output DAO layer. Let's very quickly create it, and I'll create it here a folder output DAO. Okay. And let's run the test case again. Let's see if it solves the problem. So what is happening? It is running in the background. Okay, the maximum. Okay, we again I think have a problem. It is not able to find this, I believe. Oh, we landed up here only, I believe, right? We need to change actually. Okay, it is doing all this. It made a click. Now you see, right? It was able to make a click. So maybe last time there was a problem, but this is how it is, right? So it works fine. Now I want to do what? I wanted to validate one information. Let's say from here, right? So you see the information, right? The contact information, this one, right? This is same as my username, right? Let's say I want to put an assertion to my test case to make sure whether this is where I'm landing up, and I want to validate this information, right? So what I'll do is this is my success screen, right? Let me find the inspector for this. So I'm here. I will go to this element. This is text subdued, which is customer info, right? Within the customer info, there are 4 grids, and we are dealing with this customer info, this div tag. Within this div tag, we have 4 divs, and this information lies within the first div, and which is text subdued. Okay, let's try to get this. Control C, Control F, uh, div tag contains class customer info and this, and close the bracket. And from here, I wanted to go. This is the one, right, which we are highlighting right now, customer info. And within this, I wanted to go to the div tag where text subdued. I think it would be in a lot of places, but let's try. Class equals to this. There in 5 places, right? I don't want to do this. I want it to be in the first div tag. Okay, let's do it this way. Uh, Under this, right, we want to go under the this div tag and then under the first div tag. So I'll say so not this way. I'll say single div. Now I am here on this level. I'm here at this level. Okay, let me just check. We were here, customer info. Then I did div. So I reached. Why am I reaching here only? Oh, maybe on the top also there is something. Okay, fine. Uh, So here we have 4 div tags, right? I wanted to go in the first div tag, which is text subdued grid calls to, right? Let's see this. Let us see other divs also. Where contains class equals to this one of one, right? So we are here. So we are able to reach here. And before this, we will go into the first div tag. Okay. So we'll go into the first div tag, which is this one. Again, so we are here, right? We are inside this. And inside this, I'll go to a div tag which has text subdued, which has text subdued div tag where uh, class equals to this value. So we have one of two, right? And here I will go to the second one, which is this one. Okay. So I'm here. Let's copy this. Let's go back. Okay, I have to stop this. Sorry. Okay. Uh, I do not want to create a lot of files now, but let's say this success form, right? So here we'll create a locator. We'll say private email ID, right? Let's say, which is of type locator. Okay, locator. Let's quick fix. Let's update this, and we'll say this dot email ID, and we'll also need to have a page, private page of page, and then we'll say this dot page equals to page, sorry, page, and then we are going to say equals to this dot page dot locator. I hope I have not. Okay, yeah, here, right? So I got this. So this is the locator for it. Now I'll do what? I need to just get the text of this, right? So I'll say I'll create a method public async get email ID text, right? And I will say what return uh, this dot email ID dot uh, inner text, and this will return me a string. We'll say it will be a promise of sorry, s needs to be small string. So we are good. Now let's go back here at this level. You do here, right? So we'll do is we'll say let uh, success form right equals to this, and we'll grab the value. We'll say success form dot get email ID text. Okay, right, and we'll collect it somewhere. We'll say let uh, uh, actual email ID equals to this. Oh wait, now if I want to put an assertion, right, how do I put an assertion? We have to say expect, and here we'll provide a value, and since I already have the access, right, to the login data here, right, what I can do is I can use DAO layer. So let me use DAO layer only. I will use DAO layer, login input DAO, not the data layer. And I can do what? I can say login input DAO dot get username. Okay, get username. So this becomes your let's say expected data, right? This becomes your expected data. Your actual data is what? Your this is your actual data, right? Actual email. Now, if you want to put an assertion, right? How do you do it? You do it this way: expect, and you say actual value. Let's say expected value to equal. Do we have 2b, right? We have 2b. No, what is happening here? Expect. Let's import this first. Okay. 2 equal, right? To equal, and we'll want actual email, right? This is how you put assertions, right? And if it will pass, it will say your test case passed. If it is, it will say the path test case is failed. Now you can do it this way, right? You can write assertion, and as of now, I have just placed a single assertion. What I would say is, this is not a kind of assertion which you would like to place, right? Your assertion might look like a very complex thing where you might want to validate a lot of things in a single place. Okay. Now to do that, I would suggest, right, to create your own verification layer. So to do that, let's very quickly create it just for a demo. We'll create a verification layer, let's say, right? And inside this layer, you can add all your assertions. Let's say I want to add assertions for success page, right? So I'll create a file, new file, success page assertions. Okay, let's say this .ts. Okay, okay, my connection is lost. Hello,
Yeah, you're audible.
now I'm audible. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yes.
so okay, there was no lag, right? I mean, before that also.
I think while creating the new layer, it got stuck for like 30 seconds. That's it.
Okay, so let me repeat myself, right? So what I'm saying is, we have the actual data, right, coming from the screen, and we have the expected data coming from our test data, right? And we want to validate, and this is the perfect way to validate, and this will work, right? But I'm saying, do not, instead of putting it like this, right, create your assertions layer, right, verifications layer, right, so that you can reuse your assertions in multiple test cases. Okay, so I'm creating success page assertions. Okay, so I'm going to that layer. I'll call I'll do this, and here, right, I will say export. Let me create a function directly. Okay, instead of a class, I'll say export function assert, or let's say validate success page, right? Let's say validate success page, and I will need two inputs here, right? I will need actual data. I will define what data this would be of type, and this would be of expected data, right? So let's say, as of now, let's say these are of type string. Okay, but this could be like this. Okay, let's not say this. This is a type of string. I will say that this would be of type login input DAO, which is what this one. So login input DAO. So I can pass the entire login input DAO to it. Okay, let's import this. Similarly, expected data, right? I will say my expected data would be an output DAO. Okay, I have not created this. Let's create that file. So I will do what, this is my output DAO, right? Let's create a file. I will say success output DAO. Again, the concept is same. What you will do is, you will create a class, export default class success output DAO, and here you will have only one. You will have only one thing. You will have a constructor, let's say, right, and you will have only one field. Let's say email, right? So we'll say private email, which is which is of type string. Let's say, right, it is of type string. And what we'll do is, as of now, right, let's take any input. Let's say string only. So I'll say it would be of type email again, which is of type string. Or yeah, why it keeps coming down here, right? And I will do what, I will say this dot email equals to email. And the last thing is, we'll create a public method called public get email, and we'll say return this dot email. Okay, so this is our output DAO for the success page. Now see this, what I'm doing. If you see, right, this is how I was putting an assertion, right, using the data directly. I am saying don't do this. Okay, don't do this. Do what? Create an assertion layer, right, for yourself, and per page, right, you can create that, and again, it will depend on your context. But what you can do is, let's say I'm creating one such function here, right? You can create as many functions as you want. I'm saying validate success page for email. Let's say this one only, right? What I'm expecting is, instead of taking a single value, I am passing the entire object. Similarly here, right? In the expected out data here, right? I would expect the success output DAO. Okay, so login input DAO will contain this data, which is your this data is there, right? The login input DAO, and your output, the success output DAO will contain the data which you fed here, which is the email field, right? So you're receiving it. Now what I'll do is, I'll just use the expect, and I can put as many expect, soft asserts, hard asserts, right? All of this here itself. So I'll say expect actual data dot what I want to validate. Get username, right? Get username dot, again we'll have to import expect also, dot to equal to what, expected data dot get email, right? If this matches, it will pass your test case. If it does not match, it will fail your test case, right? So let's go back. Let's call it here, right? We are saying export, right? Export this function. So we'll have to import this. So let's come here. Let's call this, and we will provide. We will not provide this. We will not provide. Okay, you created this actual email ID, right? What I will do is, let's go to our success form. We are forming get email text, right? Instead of generating a string, right? I will generate success output DAO, and here I will return what? I will say return new success output DAO, and I will feed the value which I received here, which is this dot email ID. Okay, my bad. What I'm doing, this dot email ID dot inner text. Okay, my bad again. Success input DAO receives the string, right? And this will give you a promise. This will give you a promise. So either I can use await here, which will work my thing. Let's do this way. Or I could have collected the result earlier and then feed it to this. So I will not say get email ID. I will say, I should not say this, right? I should say what? I should say get success output. Okay, let's say this. So we'll call this way, and let's use this. Come back, and we are going to say this here. And since this success output is of type success output DAO, let's say success output DAO, success output DAO, and we are good. And we'll take this value, your validate success page, right? What we'll do is, it needs the actual data, right? Actual data is what? Login input DAO. So where is the login input DAO? Will feed, but the expected value is what? Is this value. So let's copy this and paste it here. And your login input DAO is this one. Let's copy this, come back here and feed this to it. Okay. And here, since you're providing the objects, right? You do not need, and there is no promise involved, right? So these are raw files, and it will go call this, and there is an assertion statement, right? This will get called. And now if you think in this way, right? This is a reusable assertion. As of now, you see only one statement being verified. Tomorrow you can add 10 more, right? By just saying again and again, right? All the expect statements again and again. So it might look like this. See, you want to validate something else, right? Here, right? So everything can be asserted in a single function. And this is a reusable function. You can use it in multiple test cases. Okay. So I hope you're understanding the power of the need of this verification layer also. Yeah, Anand, please.
When you mentioned that it is reusable, let's say if the success message, the success form, it was success form, right?
Mm-hmm.
The page that you just opened.
This one.
where you have defined that expect the assertion.
Success assertion, right?
So here, let's say if my success page also has the data from, let's say, cart page or product page. So how would I, here we are just passing login input to you, and on
See,
success.
you will create functions based on the kind of assertions you want to do, right? If your assertion which you want to do expects some other data, right, and this does not fit here, what you will do is you will create another reusable function,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
and then use it,
Okay.
okay. But what generally happens, right? I am just checking one field right on the screen, which is
Yeah.
that just one field, right? In a real use case, you might want to do validate all the fields, all the data shown on that screen, right? All 10 text. So for that, what you will do is you will create an output DAO for that page and collect all the data from the screen using the POM methods, feed it to the output DAO and create that object, and then pass that object to this verification layer, right? And then you will have 10 of different expects here, which will be validating different fields. Getting it? As of now,
Get it.
I'm just showing for demo purpose. I've just added one text which needs to validate it. Okay. Now,
Got it.
if I go to the spec now, my framework is ready. Okay. We have all the layers. If you see, let me just run it once. Let's run it. Let's see. It should pass or it should fail. Okay. So this takes a lot of space. Right. Okay. Screen seems distorted as of now, but don't worry, everything is working right. Okay, if you see, the test case has passed, right? If I show you the report, npx playwright to report. Okay, so these are all the steps which have happened in your test execution. You can see all of them. This is the last screenshot, right, which you attached. If you wanted a video, you can enable a video and see all the execution. Oh, let's do it, right? It would be fun. Let's see how our video looks like. So we will do what? We need to go to our con file and just enable our video as on here, right? That's it. Let's also attach the trace, right? Let's enable everything and let's run it. And let me clear our things. Okay, I have not used the package.json, right, script here as of now. We will create them once we go to the CI/CD concept. Okay, but as of now, I'm not used them. Okay, so now let's run this test case again. Okay, why? Okay, there is a play button. Okay, let's see what happens this time again. I'm just doing it for collecting the recording of the video. That's it. Okay, so let it complete all its operation. Okay, here, okay, let me. Arey yaar, it has a problem. Okay, no worries. What we want to validate it that it would fail this time, right? That is what it can do. Let us wait for 40 seconds. The problem is again that I think this value got or this did not got selected. Let me just do it. Okay, let's just do it. Let's do it ourselves. If you move ahead, it goes there, right? And it will say pass or fail, like whatever it is. Okay, it said fail. Okay, no worries. Let's open our report. Okay, that is, we'll have to fix that part. Okay, somehow it is not working. So we'll see a solution, but let's just focus on the video and the tracing part. If I open it up, and if you see, right, there's a video and the trace also attached. See this? It is showing you the error that it exceeded this. All the checks which went well. This is the screenshot. This is the trace. You can just open the trace, download the trace, and open it up. And this is your video, right? See the video. It took 43 seconds. Let's play this. Let me maximize this. Quality is not very good, but you can see the complete video and it can act like a proof for us. Okay, right. So somehow it is not capturing everything. We should say full page, right? If I would have set the property as full page, it would have taken that. We were failing at this level, right? It is not able to select this. We'll have to change our locator actually, or maybe wait for this somehow, or we'll see, right? But it is, then I clicked on it and place order, and that is where my screen went, right? So this is again another attachment which you can have the report, which is very handy. Okay, right. So I hope, right, we were able to understand this, and this concludes our framework design also. Okay, again, just for the revision purpose, just see this. What we did, we created these many layers into our framework. Okay, and you can see we have the specs where we'll keep all our test cases. We have a POM layer where we'll keep all the page web models for different pages. We have a test data layer where we'll create all our JSON files per spec file. We have a utility layer where we'll keep all utilities. As of now, we have one. Then we have data control layer, where we have created interfaces, which will help us to have the compliance on the data which we want to feed to the DAO layer. Then we have the DAO layer. There we have two layers, input and output, depending on our needs. And using these DAO layers, you will feed the data to the POMs. Okay, so these are those layers. And then in the last, you have assertion layer, or let's say verification layer, right? This one, where you will do the assertions. Okay, and this is what your framework is. If you will compare this framework with WebDriver.io, it is exactly the same. Just the difference is that there you were using WebDriver.io, and all the rules were because of the WebDriver.io part. Here, all the rules are because of the Playwright thing, right? And in the ecosystem of Playwright. And that concludes our framework design also in the Playwright. Okay, so we are good. Whew. Okay. Any queries or something which someone wants to ask, or we are good?
No queries from my side.
Okay, great, right? So I hope we were able to understand and it works well.
Yes, understood totally.
Great.
We'll try to replicate the same over the weekend so that
Yeah,
ready for
please do that, right? It then only it will stay with you. Okay, and then only you will be able to also understand, like maybe some steps which I did and it went over the head. But you have the recordings, and I'm sure by the if you rewatch the explanation, everything will get clear. But you yourself attempting is the first step towards it. Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, please do it. Okay, great, right? So we are done for this week also, and we are done with the framework design. From Monday onwards, we'll work on CI/CD. We'll try to run this entire framework on Linux machine. Then we'll go to the AWS, and then we'll run it through Jenkins. Earlier, I was thinking to run the setup through GitHub Actions, but while going through GitHub Actions, I noticed that it is like a module in itself, right? And I don't want to open a new worm of jar, right? I don't want to do that. So we will focus on Jenkins only and try to run things on there only. Okay, not the GitHub Actions, because I don't want to do anything in a quick part. If I have to do GitHub Actions, it would be like a separate module in itself, and I would like to cover there, right? But as of now, I don't have any such plans. Okay, so we'll do it on Linux, AWS, and then Jenkins. And we have one left over from WebDriver.io that we wanted to run WebDriver.io on Jenkins over CI/CD. So we'll achieve that part also. So next week is like a CI/CD week, and we'll wind this up. Okay, the Playwright discussion.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a nice weekend ahead, right? And have a nice day. For Velen,
Yeah.
you still have a day left, I believe.
Yeah.
It's already evening.
Yeah, it's almost 5 o'clock. Yeah, end of the day.
Okay, almost, right? So you are almost about to close your office.
No, I will work till 6 o'clock. I have some work.
Okay, 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 okay. Thank you so much, right? Thank you so much, everyone. Let's meet on Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Happy weekend, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.